when the Beatles were on tour. You know, I grew up without a father and stuff. And my mom, you know, worked at a factory and all that, and she knew that I was in love with the Beatles all along. And she saved her money and got us tickets to go see the Beatles in concert. And I saw John Lennon and was like, I want that, whatever that is, I want that. And they were having so much fun and they were so great. So all of my life that became the template of me, of loving everything that they did. And musically we still haven't had anybody come close. With all respects to everyone from U2 to the Bieber, no one has ever had that body of music that's been so remarkable. It's almost like Beethoven or Chopin. They've really reached that point. Probably not. You know why? Because they were songwriters. I think the only, and they don't take bands either. You know what the weird thing is? I mean, I think if Steven Tyler heard them, it would be all over with. If Steven heard them, it would be, I will fight to the death if these guys don't win, because he's a Beatle freak, as am I, and Ozzy, and most of the people that I work with. I think that they had more than their music, though. They also were these four guys of individual quality. And one of the problems now is no one has that quality anymore. It's not like even Elton John or Billy Joel or Rod Stewart or Janis Joplin. You can name those guys, Jim Morrison. Right now, I mean, I could run over a member of Coldplay with my car and not know who I just crushed. Oh, a bohemian guy in a plaid shirt. And that's with all respects to Cold and Play. It's just that other thing that those guys had, that Steven Tyler has. That thing that Elton John has, that's not around. And the Beatles had it, but they were four of them. There was John, cynical and funny. There was Paul, beautiful and talented. There was George, spiritual. There was Ringo, everybody's best friend, the guy singing in the shower. And you could pick your poison. And there it was. Now, they also backed it up with incredible music. So I had met Ringo, and that was an honor for me. And then Harry Nilsson was a friend of mine. And my brothers and I did some of his songs, and we became friends. And I even produced his last album, which hopefully one day will come out. And we were on Elton John's label, and Elton was friends with John Lennon, and John Lennon shows up at a party. And I was in LA where everyone's fabulous, and they're going like, oh, there's a Beatle, you know, upstairs, but they've broken up now. And I went like, what the? And I just ran upstairs, and there he was, like sitting in the corner by himself, having a drink. And I just ran up to him. Went, hi, John, my name is Mark. I'm Hudson Brother. I'm signed to Bernie Taupin's my producer, and you're the Walrus, but I want to be the Walrus. And you have Yoko. I'm dating a black girl named Coco. And it's the same thing. And he looked at me like, he goes, you're crazy. Have a seat, Hudson. And I sat down next to him, and he started talking to me. And it was so, my life was over with. And then Elton John sat down there, and I'm in the middle between Elton John and John Lennon, and some camera guy walks up, and I went, wow, something's really wrong with this picture. And they both went, yeah, you, because I was in the center of the photograph. Became friends with John during the last weekend, and my brothers and I hung out with him. And it was a very dark time in his life, and he was very sad and all that, but he also was still John Lennon. And then it snowballed. It just kept going. Finally I had written this song called The Artist, and Ringo had heard it, and he said out loud, that kind of sounds kind of like John, and it was me. And I wouldn't mind riding with that guy, and he came to my studio here in LA, and we wrote a song, and we did the demo, and he enjoyed the experience so much that he said, well, when we make the record, you know, and I thought, yeah, we with Phil Ramone or with Jeff Lynne or Peter Asher or Don Was. He went, oh no, you'll produce it. If you don't, I won't do it. And he was the first guy in my career that stood up for me. Now imagine that. A Beatle was the first guy that said, I won't make the record unless you're the producer. And from there was over 10 years and 8 albums producing Ringo. Paul came and sang, went to Paul's house. George played slide. Jeff Emmerich mixed and engineered. George Martin did the strings. So I worked myself down from like the 9 millionth Beatle, probably to around 13 or 12. somewhere in there. I mean, they might say more like 57, but I worked myself down to being the 57th Beatle. I go back with Joan Rivers. When I was a Hudson Brother, we'd be on the road and stuff, and all of a sudden, you know, in those days it was a circuit. You do the Holiday House in Pittsburgh, and then you do the Playboy Club in Jersey, and you like would run into people. So I knew Joan forever. And when she finally got her show on Fox, she asked if I would be the band leader, if I would be Doc Severinsen. And who wouldn't say no to that? I said, absolutely, you're kidding. And the cool part about it is, the Fox network now is famous, and it's a network, and it's extremely Republican. But the first show on Fox that will end up in the time capsule somewhere, the first show broadcast of the Fox network was Joan Rivers, and after you see the logo, you see this face with the camera going, Mark Hudson and the Party Boys, and there I was in all of my glory. Show lasted for a year. We became very, very good friends, and then Arsenio Hall took over, and I became Arsenio's guy.